hello.
Hello, Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Nice to be with you.
Nice to be with
Finally,
you.
I've missed you.
I have missed being at Shabbat services with you. And it's gotten like funkier over there, yeah?
I have a funky partner over here. Rabbi David Siegel is joining
I'm
us.
referring to him only as your funky partner from now on. It's not the Shabbat tones, but it's like the Shabbat half tones. It's gonna be great. Thank you, David, for joining us. We want to welcome everyone to our Shabbat services. We are so glad you're here. If it has been a good week, if it's been a painful week, if it has been a week that is full of both, if it's been a boring week, whatever it's been, it's probably been exhausting. And we are glad that you are here for a little rest and a little refueling. And the Facebook is on delay, and I just saw David wave, and okay, sorry. I have to put that away. We are so glad that you are here. We hope that you will write in the chat and say hi and introduce yourself if you haven't already. And also in the chat on Facebook, if you're there, you will see a link to the Shabbat flip book. We're going to be posting the words of many of the prayers on the screen, but if you would like to follow along on another device in the flip book, you may. Or if you have a copy of Mishkan Tefillah at home, I will from time to time call out page numbers. And we want to ask you a question to be commenting in the chat while you're introducing yourself. This week's Torah portion includes the story of the daughters of Zelophehad, who are these awesome women who stand up about an injustice. And so we wanted to know who's a woman that you admire and why. Living or dead, someone you know or don't know, tell us about a woman you admire in the chat. And let us fill the Facebook chat with beautiful stories of inspiring women as we prepare to pray. And we are going to begin this evening by lighting our candles. So, as these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us.
As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat.
I'm having minor technical difficulties over here.
Oh, sorry, I didn't wait for you.
It's all good. We are going to continue as we prepare to welcome the Sabbath bride that approaches like a beloved with the words of Lechu Neranana.
Lay
going to continue welcoming Shabbat with a special original Lecha Dodi that I wrote. Some of you may have heard it at Warehouse Shabbat, and I took the words of the Hebrew, the translation, and kind of reworked it into my own take on Lecha Dodi in English, which I had never heard before. And I just wanted to, there's so many beautiful ideas within this poem that I wanted to share them. So I have a special way of doing this. So give me 1 second. Oh, wait, hold on. I turned the volume down. That would make it hard to hear. Lecha Dodi Likra Kala B'nei Shabbat Nekabela. Everybody say hey, 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 Lecha Dodi. Welcome in, my beloved. Put on your best, forget the rest. It's Shabbat. The time has arrived. Let us greet the Sabbath bride. Welcome in, it's Shabbat. Lecha Dodi, Likra Kala. P'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Everybody say hey, 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 Lecha Dodi. We are called to protect, to remember. With one word, make it heard. It's Shabbat. Mikor Abraham, my own weekly Shangri-La. Source of blessing, stop your stressing. It's Shabbat. Lecha Dodi, Likra Kala, P'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Everybody say hey, 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 Lecha Dodi. And now comes the time when we're gonna rise and face the entrance to welcome Shabbat like a bride. Arise, shine awake and sing. Raise your voice, make a choice, let it ring. Arise, shine awake and sing. It's your day, shout hooray, do your thing, Lecha Dodi, Likra Kala, P'nei Shabbat, Nekabela. Everybody say hey, 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 Lecha Dodi. One more time. Everybody say hey, 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 Lecha Dodi.
Thank you, Cantor. Your English words to Hebrew melodies always make the prayers come alive for me in new ways, and I am grateful for that. We are, well, since some of us are standing or standing in spirit, we are going to continue with the words of Baruch Hu. Page 28 if you're following along.
continue now with our Ma'ariv, our Avim, our prayer for the evening. The night is waiting.
Join me in praying this version of Ahavat Olam. As you taught Torah to those whose names I bear, teach me Torah too. Its mystery beckons, yet I struggle with its truths. You meant Torah for me. Did you mean the struggle for me too? Don't let me struggle alone. Help me to understand, to be wise, to listen, to know. Lead me into the mystery. Baruch atah Adonai Ohev Amo Yisrael.
If your God is my God and my God is everything, aren't we all part of one God? So let your God be my God and our God be everything. Oh, we'll all know we're all part of one God. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. You may be seated as we now continue with Ve'ahavta, and one more reminder to share a woman you admire in our Facebook chat. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'b'chol nafshecha u'b'chol me'odecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha Hayom alevavecha, vishinandam levanecha, vidibarta bam, bishivtecha, bevetecha, uvlechtecha, vaderech, uvshochbecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, vehayu letotafot beinenecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, Leman tizkeru vasitem et kol mitzvotai vitem kidoshim leElohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim liot lachem leElohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
So before we offer our prayer for freedom, I wanted to share out, for some of you who can't see them, some of these beautiful answers. You guys have gotten much better at answering in the chat since the last time I led Friday night services. So there are definitely too many of these to read out, but there are some very beautiful ones. And you'll be able to go back and look at them later. Christian talks about her being inspired by her grandmother, who is a mighty woman of God. Kathy says that she is inspired and grateful to her mentor, Shirley Burkham. Stephen is inspired by his mother for her wisdom. Leo Boucher is inspired by Joni Mitchell, Lucinda Williams, Linda Ronstadt, Esperanza Spalding, and many more great musicians. And his daughter is inspired by Angela Davis, the great civil rights activist. Marjorie Loeb is inspired by her mom, whose yard site is this week. And so many others. Freddie is inspired by Dolores Wilkenfeld, who inspires all of us for her honesty, her willingness to speak up and stand up for what is right, and her ability to do all of that with such grace. And lots of people shouted out their mothers, their sisters. Someone shouted out her daughters-in-law. And all of this is so incredibly, incredibly beautiful. And as we think about marching across the sea, and the way that Miriam, the prophetess, led the women in dancing and song, lifted up women's voices, and the impact that must have had on the whole community, not just on my chavruta, says both his wife and my life, which I love, that we. When they were singing those songs, they were inspiring not just each other, but also everyone gathered in that community, all of the Israelites. So hold these women who inspire you in your heart as we sing the words of Mi Chamocha, but first some words about justice, which I think will come up on the screen. Aha, they're there. When justice burns within us like a flaming fire, when love evokes willing sacrifice from us, when to the last full measure of selfless devotion, we demonstrate our belief in the ultimate triumph of truth and righteousness, then your goodness enters our lives and we can begin to change the world. And then you live in our hearts and we, through righteousness, behold your presence.
She sang with praise and might. We've just lived through a miracle. We're going to dance tonight. Sing with me. And the women dancing with their timbrels followed Miriam as she sang her song. Sing a song with one who we've exalted. Miriam
I love that people are still putting women that inspire them in the chat, and you should keep doing that this whole service. And we are transitioning now into Hashkivenu, into a prayer that is about God's sheltering presence. And in these times of sheltering, we are extra aware of not only God's sheltering presence, not only the sheltering presence that is provided by our homes, if we are lucky to find those places sheltering, but also in the sheltering presence that we can provide for each other. In the Sukkot Shlomecha, the sukkah of peace that we can spread over each other from afar in these challenging times. We continue with the words of Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu Lishalom V'hamidenu Shomreinu L'chaim L'chaim Hashkivenu Adonai
We continue now with the Amidah, which begins on page 46 in your prayer books. We invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai sefatai tiftachu fi agitehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'Konei Hakol, V'Zocher Chastei Avot V'Imahot, U'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham Ve'ezrat Sarah. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיי הכל אתה רב להושיע, מוריד הטל, מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיי הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל, ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע, ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
I wanted to share with you a poem called Hill Country by Tracy K. Smith, who is the immediate past poet laureate of the United States, that imagines God on what I pictured to be God's Shabbat drive. And it goes like this. He comes down from the hills, from the craggy rock, the shrubs, the scrawny live oaks, and the dried up junipers, down from the cloud bellies, the bellies of hawks, from the carcasses, stalking carcasses, from the clear sun-smacked soundlessness that shrouds him, from the weathered bed of planks outside the cabin where he goes to be alone with his questions. God comes down along the road with his window unrolled so that twigs and hanging vines can slap and scrape against him in his Jeep. Down past the buck caught in the hog trap, the kicks and the heaves bloodied, blinded by the whiff of its own death, which God, thank God, staves off. He downshifts, crosses the shallow trickle of a river that only just last May scored the side of the canyon to rock, gets out, walks along the limestone bank, castor beans, cactus, scat of last night's coyotes. Down below the hilltops, he squints out at a shadow, tree backing tree, dark depth the eyes glide across, not bothering to decipher what it hides. A pair of dragonflies mate in flight. Tiny flowers throw frantic color at his feet. If he tries, if he holds his mind in place and wills it, he can almost believe in something larger than himself rearranging the air. He squints at the Jeep glaring in the bright sun, stares a while at patterns, the tall branches cast on the undersides of leaves. Then God climbs back into the cab, returning to everywhere. We continue with Shalom Rav, page 60.
Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Shalom Rav, Yisrael Amcha, Tasim Le'olam. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon, lechol hashalom. Shalom continue now with a moment of silent prayer.
We turn now to a prayer for healing, our Misha Sheberach prayer, which is about offering wholeness and strength to those in our lives who are seeking it. We pray for people who experience illness, physical and mental, the pain we can see and know about and the pain we can never know about. We pray for people who are struggling with addiction, who are in recovery. We pray for people with chronic illness and chronic pain. We pray for all those in our lives who are seeking refuah shlema, return to wholeness. In our congregation, we are praying in particular for David Askenaze, Marcia Block, Bradley Borden, Melba Berman, Jennifer Carey, Michelle Cohen, Miles Cohn, David Kottner, Maya Creeder, Richard Dana, Gregory Edmond, Ann Graubart, Vicki Greenberg, Jerry Hooks, Sarah James, Lawrence Levy, Velma Lingo, Raul Ramirez, Melinda Scholar, Angelica Taylor, Marcia Tushita, Leah Danielle Veradi, Lenny Weinberger, Roger Williams, Avram Chaim Ben Shlomo Vipazia, Chaim Labish Vevel Ben Sheva, Esther Bat Ruth, Gelka Nechama Bat Leba Chaya. And for all those who are suffering with physical illness, emotional distress, and pain, we offer these words of Misha Berach.
Bless the ones below.
Few brief announcements this Shabbat. Thank you to Nathan Malik for helping us with our service. You can't see him, but he is working behind the scenes to make sure everything goes smoothly and that you can hear us, and that's really important, so thank you. And thank you also to Rabbi David Siegel for his drumming contributions tonight. If you are not familiar with the hit internet television show Jewish Geography Zoom Racing, then you are about to be amazed. Sunday night, our very own Oren Hayon is going to absolutely destroy Rabbi Sari Laufer from Wise Temple in Los Angeles, and we are so excited to watch him do that. It's a really fun game. If you haven't watched it, it's a hoot. It's on Facebook. You should check our social media to find the link. It's going to be really fun. And join Emanu next Sunday, July 19th at 7 p.m. for a trivia night online, open to all. A fun and challenging trivia night will feature a variety of experiences beyond your average game night. Registration in advance is required. More information is on the website. And finally, our clergy team and staff are here for you now and always. If you need pastoral support or need assistance from a member of our staff, please do not hesitate to reach out and let us know how we can do our best to be and lend a helping hand. So there are so many stories in the Facebook chat of women who inspire you, and I want to add one more to that collection. In this week's Parshat Pinchas, we're given a census of the new generation of Israelites, the one who will cross over from the wilderness into the promised land. Amongst the many names listed, one stands out, Serach bat Asher. The rabbis, ever the astute readers, were puzzled by her presence in this list. Puzzled because Serach bat Asher is a character who had already appeared in the Torah generations earlier. Serach was Jacob's granddaughter, part of the generation who went down with him to join Joseph in Egypt. What, the rabbis wondered, is a name from Genesis doing all the way out here in Numbers? Unmoved or perhaps unamused by the simple solution that there might just be two Serach bat Ashers in the Torah, the rabbis invent a rich folklore about a woman who lived from the time of Jacob to the time of Moses and well beyond. Tonight, I want to share with you some of her stories, ancient legends of our people, about a timeless and ageless witness to history. Jacob's sons were excited to tell their father that they had found their long-lost brother Joseph alive and well in Egypt, but they were also exceedingly worried. Jacob was very old. He had lived a life of tragedy and grief. They feared his broken heart could not handle such joyful news, that it might actually kill him. They devised a plan. Jacob's granddaughter, the 7-year-old Serach, would play the harp for him. She would sing the words, "My uncle Joseph is still alive." Serach's song soothed Jacob's torn heart and knitted it back together so that there was room enough to hold this good news. In tearful gratitude, Jacob offered his granddaughter a blessing, and through this blessing, she was granted a unique gift, the power to age incredibly slowly, to live forever. Serach traveled with her family to join Joseph in Egypt. She appeared as a young girl of no more than 8 or 9 on the day that Joseph died. She heard him make his sons swear that someday they would take his bones back to the promised land. Serach bat Asher grew up in Egypt. Before slavery, she was a midwife. As a slave, she worked back-breaking labor at a mill. She saw the hardships that men can inflict on each other. But she didn't know only pain and defeat. She and the other women kept hope alive during those dark years. When Moses returned from his dalliance with the burning bush, it was Serach bat Asher who recognized him as the messenger of divine deliverance. After the 10th plague, the Israelites packed in a hurry. They loaded their carts with whatever they could carry and put their dough on top of their packs to bake in the hot sun. But Moses had other things on his mind. Serach, now a beautiful young woman, found him crying on the banks of the Nile. She lifted his face in her hands, wiped his tears away, and asked what was wrong. "For 3 days I have searched for Joseph's bones to no avail. I will never be able to keep my ancestors' promise." Moses didn't know that Serach had been there all those years ago and had watched as the Egyptians threw Joseph's coffin unceremoniously in the Nile, fearing that the Israelites had come to revere Joseph more than him. Through Serach, a history lived on, a story was retold. She led him to the place where the bones were and helped him summon the coffin from the depths of the Nile. Later, it was Serach's suggestion that the tabernacle contain not one ark, but two. An aron, meaning ark, in which would be stored the tablets of the commandments, a vision for our future, and another aron, which also means coffin, containing Joseph's bones, a remembrance of our past. 40 years later, Serach was walking through the camp. She overheard 5 sisters talking. Their father had just died and they had no brothers. The law as it stood was unfair. It said they could not inherit their father's land. Machla, Noah, Holga, Milka, and Tirza, the daughters of Zelophehad, wondered aloud what they should do. A woman appeared to be in her mid-20s, and she came up to them. She had lived long enough to know that laws can change, that one generation's injustice need not dictate the next. Serach said to them, "It is true that human rulers are more concerned with males than females. Trust me, I've seen it. But the one who spoke and brought the world into being is not like that. Rather, God shows mercy to all living things. As the Psalms say, the sovereign is good to all. God's mercy is upon all God's works." The sisters did not quite understand since they'd never heard of Psalms, but they took the woman's advice. They marched to the center of camp, to the seat of power, and they pleaded their case. Serach whispered in Moses' ear that this discussion was perhaps above even his pay grade, and so he brought their case to God. God, who loves justice almost as much as God loves being out-argued by God's creations, granted the daughter's request. Serach taught the daughters in the world an important lesson, that even God's law can be unjust, that even God's law can be changed, that we must stand up. Serach lived to see the promised land. She lived through the period of judges and kings. Some say it was Serach, now a bit older, who showed David the location of the foundation stone on which would be built the temple in Jerusalem. And many generations later, when the temple was destroyed, Serach assisted Jeremiah in hiding its most sacred vessels. Hundreds of years later, the rabbis of the Talmud were having a debate. What, they asked their teacher, did the parted sea look like? It says that the waters made walls, but how can something liquid be solid? When nobody could come up with an answer, Rabbi Yochanan posited that perhaps the walls gushed like sprouting bushes. Then in the Talmudic study hall could be heard laughter coming from outside the window. Serach, now middle-aged, had been listening outside. The long years of her life had only increased her love of Torah study, and she did not let the fact that women were not allowed in the study hall keep her from learning. "Leave it to a room full of men who don't know the answer to make something up," she said. "And what do you know?" they demanded. "I was there when the sea parted." "So," they said, "tell us." The walls were as smooth as mirrors, like the surface of a still lake. And so for those of us marching between them, it was as if we saw all of the Jews who ever lived and ever would live reflected between the walls, an infinite future of a people as numerous as the sands beneath our feet. You imagined a chaotic sea, a miracle in turmoil, but no, it was tranquil and calm in that narrow, mirrored passageway, a place of introspection, a place of vision. We were silent as we crossed, overwhelmed by all of it. This is why we burst into song on the other side, because no words would do to convey the power of our experience in the depths. From then on, Serach was allowed to sit in the very back of the academy and to study along with the rabbis. From time to time, they would turn to her with some question of history, and she would advise. And rarely would she make fun of the hubris of their endeavor, not out loud at least. All the days of her life, Serach wandered wherever Jews were found. There are some who say that in the 9th century in Persia, there was an old woman sitting in a synagogue studying Torah when suddenly a fire from heaven came down and surrounded the synagogue, and then a flaming chariot descended and whisked that woman away to heaven. And then the fire dissipated and they approached the building and nothing had been singed. And to this day, the synagogue is called the synagogue of Serach bar Asher because it was from there that she ascended to paradise alive. There are those who say that she is still there in the garden of the afterlife, teaching Torah and history to anyone who wants to learn. But I don't believe them. I think Serach said no when the chariot came for her. I think she just kept on living. I cannot imagine Serach teaching Torah and history in a place where she could not also teach revolution and moral courage. No, I think she's still here. I think she whispered in the ears of the suffragettes. I think she kept company with Emma Goldman and Emma Lazarus. I think she is there for anyone who needs to be reminded that history is a story about possibility. I think she is there whenever any Jew speaks truth to power, whenever any of us stand for the rights of the oppressed. I think she's stuck around to remind us just how long the arc of history is and to help us see that it bends towards hope. You may have seen her. Maybe you know her. Maybe you've heard her voice. Serach, the woman whose music turned agony into joy. Serach, the woman who kept the stories of her ancestors alive when nobody else cared to remember. Serach, the woman who when others saw turmoil, she saw tranquility and possibility. Serach, the woman who understood that we stand always at the turning point between our past that is bones and our future, which is tablets waiting to be written, and that both are mirrors that reflect who we are. Serach, the woman who understood that God is not bound by human prejudice and humans needn't be either. Serach, the woman who loves study and history and storytelling, woman of laughter and song, midwife and prophet, conscience and constant. Serach, wherever you are, in this world or the next one, may we be so lucky as to learn from you, to revel in your stories as we march through the parted seas of history. Our service concludes this evening with our moment of memory. We continue for those following along in your books on page 293. Our thoughts turn to those who have departed this earth, our own loved ones, those whom our friends and neighbors have lost, the martyrs of our people whose graves are unmarked, and those of every race and nation whose lives have been a blessing to humanity. As we remember them, we meditate on the meaning of love and loss, life and death. Take a quiet moment for memory. We think of our loved ones whom death has recently taken from us, those who have died in this season in years past, and those whom we have drawn into our hearts with our own. Our hearts go out in sympathy to the families of Jason Sanchez and David Silverman who have been laid to rest in recent days. We also recall the yard sites of Victor Alessandro, Harry Allen, Louis Ashe, Esther Wyman Asheroff, Michael Davis Atlas, Stuart H. Babinger, Morris Belasco, Ben Balter, Edward Sonny Becker, Arthur Bricker, David Brooke, David George Brooks, Frank Brown, Robert S. Bruno, Jules Cass, Elizabeth S. Clark, Harriet Rose Cohen, Sidney H. Cohen, Bonnie Cohen, Alvin Jerome Cohen, Gladys Davidson, Benjamin Davis, Rabbi A. Stanley Dreyfus, Sybil Oshman Dushkin, Martha Engel, Jack Fink, Lawrence Fish, Rose Fishbane, Jack D. Friedman, Rose Price Gary, Elizabeth Weiss Gelber, Miss Catherine Gelitz, David Gordon, Hester Greenberg, Michael Green, Irving Isidore Green, Francis Hodgkins, Roy Howard, Fanny Hussman, Harold Joseph, Julia S. Kaplan, Elaine Loey Cates, Robert Kaufman, Lillian Ablon Kaufman, Leonard Klickstein, James Lempert, Elise Levin, Marlon Lewis, Debbie Lobliner, Sarah Melton, Lillian Pasternak, Harry Pepper, Eloise Karchimer Pepper, Antoinette Price, Edward J. Pulaski, Rebecca Putterman, Nina Regenstreif, Freddie Rothstein, Carrie B. Sachs, Morris Joseph Samuels, Jean Samuelson, Ada Scher, Alan Lawrence Schechter, Helen Schwartz, Max Shapiro, Edith Shep, Doris Sue Simon, Don Smith, Selma Foreman Snyder, Jean Wolfe Summer, Beverly Ruth Kaplan Spear, Marilyn Spielman, Fanny Stuhl, Sigmund Strauss, Ruth Van, June Waldman, Morris Whiteman, A.F. Wilson, Irving Zeitman, and Marilyn Zimmerman. Zichronam livracha. May their memories be for a blessing. As we rise for the words of Mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach chirutei ve'al michma chutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala v'zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach le'olam umei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitchomam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithaleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha brichu, le'elam im kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'ne'emata, ta'amiran be'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama Rabbah min shmaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimeru amen. We move from Kaddish to Kiddush. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron le'maaseh v'reishit, ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh, zeicher litziat mitzrayim, ki vanu v'acharta, ve'otanu kidashta, mikol ha'amim, ve'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat. L'chaim. Let's see how our challah is looking tonight. Ooh, nice. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz, b'te'avon.
Is that a homemade one?
It is.
That's a very impressive homemade challah. I baked challah last week for the first time, and I was so excited to show you that like they're fresh baked challah in this house too, for the first time in a long time. And then we didn't lead services together, but it's okay. Our closing song, we return to One and Only tonight.
If your God is my God and my God is everything, aren't we all part of one God? So let your God be my God and our God be everything. Oh, we'll all know we're all part of one God. So open up your heart to all
Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, God and God of our ancestors, God of all the generations, would that we could hear the voice of Serach bat Asher, would that we could hear the voices echoing across the generations, that it can inspire us to be the best of ourselves, that it can inspire us to build the communities in which we want to live, that can inspire us to care for each other and care for this world, and to bring hope and to be sources of life. Would that we could hear those voices this day and every day, for that would truly be a Shabbat blessing. And we say together, Amen.
Amen. So open up your heart to all the lost and lonely. Let no one be alone tonight before our one and only, before our one and only. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom, Cantor. Shabbat Shalom, David.
Shabbat Shalom.